What's up, my Ace Attorneys? Welcome back. We're in part 18 of Turnabout in the Lighthouse of Lunacy. We're at Act 3. In the last video... Oh, no, this has to load again. In the last video, we went after Susan Holden, finally. Got her on the stand, the one who's been in control of everything. And we're basically trying to get her to let us back into the lower floor again. So we needed to find some clue on the floor we're on first. And I don't know where this is going, but it seems like the judge is the correct answer. So we'll continue from here. Make sure you hear me out before you pass any judgment. Oh, hold on a minute. Sorry, the cable for these headphones isn't plugged in, so here we go. Let me check that volume. Yeah, here we are. If I'm right about my theory, then we will find the victim's blood on your gavel, Your Honor. That makes sense, actually, because she would have been using that gavel. Order!
Miss Chase, I don't know where you are going with this, but I suggest you tread lightly.
There's a reason I said you should hear me out first. We're all here today because of Miss Holden organising an auction. It is that auction that took place just before the crime. During it, the victim may have touched various auction items she was selling. But more importantly, that gavel you borrowed from her, she definitely had been handling it for most of the event. If there is blood on it, that would prove that the victim was already wounded beforehand. The same chronological fallacy applies to the display case, but also applied to the gavel. Supposing we were to find blood on it, what proves it is recent and not from some day in the past? The words of your own client. What? I gave nothing away! What did you say again when you took the stand? You can thank me for everything in this auction being impeccably clean. That would no doubt have included the most important tool of the auction, the gavel. So let me take this chance to thank you for a job well done.
I see. That means any blood in this gavel will be very recent. What a shame, I really liked how this one felt. Fortunately, I always have a spare with me.
Then why borrow it at all? A true gavel connoisseur, I guess. I shouldn't be asking too much to have Dr. Hellinger run a quick blood test on it. And while we're at it, check all the other items that were auctioned off. Hey, I want this fair and square, I ain't giving it back! No one asked you to return your stuff. The thing is, we roughly know in what order these items were sold. We saw Mrs. Holden presenting most of them after her daughter made sure they were clean. Which means any blood in them could be used to narrow down the time frame Mrs. Holden got that cut. We don't even have to leave the room for this. Surely there are no objections? My stance on this should be evident. If the court wishes to waste its time, regardless, I shall take a nap. Just you wait. Sooner or later, I'll give you that well-earned wake-up call.
It appears this is the most readily available way to test the defendant's theory. Please do the necessary checks, Dr. Hellinger.
You do have a thing for making up theories without any verification, Aurelia Chase. Let me just say, your method is objectively guaranteed to backfire eventually. I will allow myself to say something for the record as well. Dr. Hellinger will only report the results of this most recent check. She will not testify about anything beyond that. Stubborn about that one, huh? Whatever. Let's just hear what you found first. That should show how much time I'm actually wasting.
Was there any blood present on the items we gave you?
Regardless of what it means, the following is what I can say. No blood whatsoever was found on the sold auction items. As for the gavel, there's a tiny amount of Melanie Holden's blood on it. It's barely perceptible with just your eyes.
There was actually blood on it. Oh dear. Go to pieces for 2 minutes while I go wash my hands.
Not on the auction items, but on the gavel. I think we can deduce what this means. Mrs. Holden must have received that cut just before the auction went on break. Which, you remember, is when she went to fetch the knife and then showed it to us. It is mere moments before she headed to the study. It tracks perfectly with my theory. It's a moderately valid conclusion. However, there's something else I'd like to note about your theory. Haven't I been clear enough? Do not say anything unnecessary. You do not have permission. This is getting ridiculous. If it's relevant, you might as well say it. If Mrs. Preston does not need my help, so be it. Don't misunderstand. You should be glad I'm currently not officially on the stand. I don't like the sound of that. Is this just another trap I'm walking into?
I'm back. Court is back in session. Where were we?
Let me sum up what's been established now. Mrs. Holden got this cut while getting the knife. And the display case is the only reasonable spot it could have been stored. There's no more room to deny it. Nothing else we found would match that cut. No more objections? Well, isn't a nice change of pace. So let me get this straight. Mrs. Holden went to the justice room right before she died. And later on, Mr. Guard just so happened to be killed in that very same room. No matter what you think of my theory, can we really still say that there's definitely no connection? You need to know when to stop doubling down. Not forgotten. I still know what you dared to imply earlier. The part where I'm the only one with access to the lower floor. So much for forcing the topic to be about the second murder. The only one with access aside from Mrs. Holden, but close enough. Do you deny it? You really don't want to say it yourself, do you? You basically have to accuse me to be this poisoner. Well, you'd be the one most likely to have been aware of the victim's plans for that day. You know, her whole plan to frame me. I still maintain that happened. However, perhaps that plan didn't fail due to simple bad luck. It's possible someone in the know intentionally sabotaged it for their own ends. If you poisoned her in the middle of that frame-up, I was guaranteed to turn into the prime suspect. So you actually have the nerve to say it. How to respond to that? What reason would I have to kill her? Unbelievable, you could. I wonder what reason she would have. It's not like this whole trial was set up to, you know, extort Aurelia out of money or anything. And she's a gambler who might have some debts to pay off.
Order, please! She's right, however. You are going to have to provide something here, Detective.
Defendant.
People do not just kill their own parents for no reason, I'd like to believe.
I think you are vastly underselling the grudges that can run in families. But if it's an explicit motive you want, I can give it to you. This piece of evidence shows why you needed to kill your mother. There's a piece of evidence. The only thing I think of is Holden's business history because I don't really know, but or the newspaper, but I'm not as confident in that one. The competent profiles here, so it has to be a piece of evidence. We saw the cryptic message on the knife, we have no idea what that is yet. Something in Guard's autopsy. I would just want to say money, but there's no option to say that. How is that for a motive?
Please don't insult the plaintiff like that. Nobody would kill over such a petty reason as that.
You just lack imagination. Straightforward motives, what comes to mind? Wasn't there some kind of problem with him and his dog? I'm thinking gambling, but where's the evidence I can use for that? I suppose we could say tender mender because it's only issued by a certain loan company to its borrowers. Would that work? Oh. I present to you one of the cleanest and most straightforward motives in existence.
The cleaning spray?
Don't mind, how do you actually have that? You dropped it. More importantly, this isn't just any cleaning spray. This is Tender Mender, a special product only handed out to clients of a certain loan shop. If this is truly yours, as you just said, you must be one of those clients. I hear this Tender Lender is quite infamous for charging ridiculous rates.
I've heard the name before. It's run by the blue-suited lawyer, I think.
It's actually run by the mob, from what I've heard. That blue-suited lawyer. He technically did wear a blue suit. Is it true that you've gambled yourself? Isn't it true that you've gambled yourself into debt, Miss Holden? That's so what? What does that have to do with any of this? Money is one of the most classic motives in the world. Why would I kill my mother for that? She had a high-paying job. She even let me help out as an assistant. She did everything in her power to help me get out of this debt. And you're saying I killed her? Even if that's true, loan sharks can be very impatient. It was likely made very clear that you definitely would not want to miss any payments. So you didn't only need money, you needed fast. Your mother's death would let you inherit her assets. I imagine that would have given you quite a boost. But apparently, that still wasn't enough, was it? So down. Where the hell is this going? It's going all in, but I don't plan on losing like you clearly did. Your mother's assets still weren't enough to cover whatever debt you had accumulated. And what better way to make a quick buck than a good old-fashioned lawsuit? That's not... Why is this happening?
What in the world, Miss Chase? Are you saying this trial was part of the plan too?
It's time to pull back the curtain on all these oh-so-convenient coincidences. Let me ask you something, Ewan. What brought you here today? Did you just decide to visit this auction on a random whim?
Well, no, that's not quite how it happened. Me and a few bailiffs received some sort of invitation to this event. An advertisement, I suppose. It mentioned there'll be free food, so it sounded quite nice.
See? Don't you think it's too convenient that we had a workable courtroom, a detective, a lawyer, and a judge? All of them just happening to be present? This whole trial was carefully arranged to try and push off your debt on me. Slander, all of it!
Just one moment, Miss Chase. I understand that you claim Mrs. Holden planned to kill and frame you. And now you are saying this plan was used by the plaintiff to poison her mother and frame you. But what would have happened if Mrs. Holden had actually managed to kill you?
Well, I'm no legal expert here, but does that really stand in the way of a lawsuit? I mean, I'm currently being framed on behalf of a dead person, right? I imagine it's possible to sue a dead person as well, under the right circumstances. So she probably would have tried to go ahead with it anyway, before my corpse was even cold.
I see. It would be quite cold-blooded indeed. There are various factors to consider, but it is indeed possible to sue a dead person's estate as well.
But you're the one who shot my mother. You're the only one who could have done it. Even if all these plans you keep coming up with were true, what does it matter? It's the same as before. Never happened. Even if it were true that only I could have shot her, the scenario is quite different. For example, what if the victim had already died to the poison at that time? I'm sure shooting a corpse could be a crime in its own right, but it's not murder. And either way, if the victim was going to die from poison no matter what, then I cannot be held liable for any financial losses. Those would have been inevitable already. I must commend you for finally presenting a modicum of challenge. Brace yourself, here comes the usual. Spinoza urged us not to laugh, not to weep, not to hate, but try to understand human actions. Unfortunately, even I have begun even I have begun to struggle to speak or understand you, Aurelia. You did not merely elect to accuse my client of killing her very own mother. You had to utilize an appallingly preposterous version of events on top of that. I will kindly return us from this fantastical world of your mind into the real world. Dr. Hellinger, I grant you permission to clarify your autopsy, but no more than that. Did that have to be this dramatic? Well, I am glad I can finally defend my findings. My investigations are more thorough than you give me credit for, defendant. Naturally, it was a concerning data point that the sweat on the victim's head had no clear cause. I suspected some kind of substance may be a factor, not unlike you do. Which is why I did perform a thorough analysis of the victim's system for dangerous poisons. And I would like to assume, but I think you already know what I'm going to say. The human body is complex and it will be hard to have absolute certainty about all substances. However, the technology I'm using is cutting edge. It's the Nintendo bloody Switch. It's capable of detecting any known poison. What about an unknown poison? My autopsy is accurate. There's objectively no way for this theory to be valid. I knew it was coming, but damn it. There it is. Of course she was talking nonsense.
Please remain quiet. Miss Chase, I don't see how you possibly could. Would you have a response to this?
Give her a moment. I'm sure a brain like hers will require some time to process this. She tends to have some difficulties returning to reality from her fantasy world. I can't understand here. So I have to drop this accusation. I'm pretty much out. Your Honor, I'm not done here. There is an explanation for this.
How in the world? The detective just confirmed there were no traces of poison in the victim. Are you going to claim she's in on the plan as well?
That admittedly came to mind. Yeah, I did. But now it strikes me as a bad idea. The fact that the Hellinger detected no poison does not contradict my theory because she didn't manage to detect the specific poison that was used. The detective just confirmed that she checked for every poison with modern technology. Now hold on just a second. That's not what she said. She stated that her technology checked for any known poison. There must be some limits there. What if an unknown poison was used? I can hear the sighs from the gallery, but I'll have to bear it. An unknown, undetectable poison. You are truly outdoing yourself. Knowing that we are now in the realm of fourth-rate mysteries, this is a probatic diabolic. Now what I do remember is, this case was made for the Broken Commandments competition, and I do remember that one of Knox's mystery commandments was no unknown poisons can be used, so we have an unknown poison being used, or at least we think there is for now. It's a claim that cannot be disproven. There is no conceivable way this will be tolerated. But the weird symptoms still haven't been explained.
I think the line should be drawn here. The existence of such a poison is unlikely to begin with. Not only that, but it's not clear to me where the plaintiff, an ordinary civilian, would have gotten such a thing from.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but there has to be a way to give an explanation for this. Think. If I can't directly show the poison's existence, I have to explain where it came from. But where would Miss Holden even have found it? Like the judge said, she isn't anyone that would have access to something like that. Hold up. Someone with access to... Is there really no way a secret poison could have found its way here? There's something you're still unaware of, Yon. I think it might be FBI guy. Yeah. I will give you this rare poison in exchange for some government secrets. Or maybe she stole it away. I have an explanation for how the plaintiff got her hands on this unknown poison.
I won't lie, Miss Chase. I've no idea how you'd even begin to explain this. coverage of a proposed source for its extraordinary poison.
It does let us present profiles on this one, which it didn't let us do before, so I will say... Ouch, my head. Feels like a lot of things just clicked into place all at once.
Are you going to provide an explanation?
As I have mentioned already, it cannot be expected to work at average speed. Oh, you better strap in. So, he wanted her dead perhaps and, became her accomplice. And she went through with it because she wanted the money. Once I get started on this one, you'll struggle to keep up.
No more stalling, Miss Chase.
Right, so... there are only so many places a completely unknown poison could have come from. To explain this, I'll have to talk about something I was informed about during the last recess. About the true identity of a certain Mr. Cover.
The sweets merchant from the entrance.
That guy. The thing is, Mr. Cover is no mere civilian. He's an agent sent by the FBI to keep tabs on this place.
How did you manage to learn that?
Well, I have a source that said he told it to them. Let me guess, Lillian. This is nothing but hearsay. You have simply tried to concoct your next fantasy.
Shouldn't Mr. Cover himself be able to confirm this?
Thing is, he'll probably deny it. He announced as much. But Mr. Guard was with them when this conversation happened. How convenient that we can't ask him either. Oh wait, there was somebody else. Mr. Poley was hiding behind... he was present when this conversation happened and must have caught the gist of it.
Mr. Poley, could you please come forward and confirm who is married to this?
Yes, I heard them talk about this FBI matter.
There you are, you little rat!
No. They're still playing hide and seek in the gallery? Well, it seems he's currently too busy to go into detail, but that should have given it some backing, I hope.
You will listen to the rest of it first then.
Mr. Cover was stationed here for one specific reason. After the previous tenant of this place was exposed as a criminal, suspicions grew that he had stolen government secrets.
He was in a position to do that? How could that happen?
He had apparently been a special agent himself for a while. But the important question is just what Dr. Lead had actually stolen. Mr. Cover vaguely called it government secrets, which brings to mind confidential documents and the like. It seems that may have been a mistaken impression.
I'm not sure I'm following. What exactly do you propose he took?
Consider who we're talking about. It's likely these government secrets he stole were actually... aliens? I do want to Let's see what happens. Okay, keep an open mind here. There's ample evidence that the government has already made contact with alien life forms.
Aliens!
I'm not saying he literally abducted aliens, but... quite fitting, 'cause I'm going to see the new Alien film later today.
Are you saying that the victim was killed when a xenomorph was attached to her face?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, why wasn't her stomach exploded then?
This was a polite little guy. He just kind of like squirmed his way out. He didn't have to rip her up. Maybe there was some special alien tech he figured he could put to good use. With that kind of technology involved, it would definitely be possible to poison the victim. Let's call this concept UPOs, Unidentified Poisonous Objects.
Aliens! Watch out! Unidentified penalizing object!
That was good. There is no question that the government has some confidential weaponry. The JP Corporation would no doubt have been very interested in that. An unknown poison in particular should be very attractive to those sophisticated hitters.
You're saying that the lead stole deadly weapons? How could the government let something like that happen?
I should not even be wasting my breath on this asinine drivel. This man is supposed to be an FBI agent. All he did was go on about the curse of this place. If it was me, I would have simply seized back what was rightfully mine. Well, some people do care about not looking like the bad guys. It's bad enough if someone simply took some confidential documents. But we're talking about weapons being given straight into the hands of a criminal organization. It's pretty much state-sponsored terrorism. They had to make sure it didn't get out. No way! They couldn't be that incompetent, surely. This is why I don't pay taxes.
Order! I know this is quite the claim, but please remain quiet. If what you say is true, Miss Chase, I am unsure what Miss Cover's aim was. Was the Reaper's curse an actual government cover-up?
I do believe a cover-up took place, but I don't think Mr. Cover killed those people. Lillian would have picked up on that. I believe we should take another look at it. Because where I just suggested can easily solve this curse. So it does really seem like he is not a fan lead like I thought. I was saying because they've got a sort of similar face shape. Beard covers mouth, glasses cover head, no hair, hair, two hats. But no, it just at this point seem like they're two separate people. Your delusions of grandeur have no limits, do they? It may be no challenge to me, but do you seriously expect us to believe you can explain away two locked room cases that simply? I would call it a challenge, not when the police were tweaking the facts. A renowned detective working for Althea is apparently looking into them as well. I happen to have his notes right here, together with the official police reports. If we use this as a basis, it's pretty obvious that they hid something.
Very well. Court accepts this into evidence. No matter what, this is bound to be another blow to the reputation of the police. These sort of things will further erode the trust in justice being carried out. They may have let the killer get away.
I don't completely disagree, but to understand what they may have done, we must consider what the objective was. Their aim was to hide the true nature of these incidents.
That's an intriguing choice of words, Miss Chase. Please elaborate.
At a glance, these two incidents look like Blackrune murders. However, we've got to take a look at the bigger picture here. Was there any sweat on his face, actually? Let me check. That's the vicinity of the subject, isn't it? I don't think there's any chance he got poisoned. Disregarding the exact circumstances, two people visited the tower and then wound up dead in their homes later. Combine this with my proposal that there were confidential government weapons hidden here. It's highly likely that these incidents were actually completely fake. Let me see. Soul Paul. He didn't even try. Well, the fact, like, if they wanted to fake them to scare people away from the tower, they would make them murders, surely. Although, maybe not. There can't be accidents because this is what the official police report said. I don't think it's suicides. Murders? Murders. Maybe they are completely fake.
That's what we were already assuming, Miss Chase. How does that bring us closer to making sense of them?
I don't know. But it's always murder, right?
Disappointing. Please think before you make such a dramatic claim next time.
They're completely fake? Nobody really died. It was all staged.
What are you saying? Were these victims locals?
They just moved elsewhere and got a new identity.
What about the eyewitnesses? Even if the police were involved, then there surely were first discoverers.
paid actors, all of them.
I know we're already in the realm of conspiracy theories, Miss Chase, but this is too much.
The reports say they're accidents, but the detective's doubting them. Maybe suicides, but I'll go with accidents. A series of unfortunate accidents.
Nobody's actually responsible for these murders. How could that be possible?
Oh, there definitely lies some blame with this man. He stole deadly weapons and substances from the government and hid them in this place. Then, after he's gone, people were free to visit this tower and walk all over it. Touching things, perhaps even secretly taking something. With things like lethal poison around, that's an accident waiting to happen. Do you even know about the particularities of these two incidents? Because neither of them are remotely explained by your suggestion of poison. No worries, I remember quite well. I never said poison was the only kind of weapon involved. If I recall correctly, the first incident happened 4 years ago. Alright, time to use what's written in this as a basis to present something coherent. It's hardly enough info to avoid all leaves, so just to go plausibly applicable options. Saul Paul was found dead in his home with his throat cut out. No weapon was found in the house, and there were no signs of anyone else entering or leaving. Most of this was confirmed as correct. The first discoverer was likely just another local. The only doubtful part is their assessment of the wound. They likely didn't take too close a look. We should just say he had a pretty bad looking wound in the front of his neck. So, the question is, what could have caused a large wound without leaving a weapon behind? Ice knife, acid, carbon nanotube. Take a look at this. Torn throat. It's torn. It can't really be acid because acid dissolves, it's a tear. Carbon nanotube, I don't really think so either. There's no mention of water, but I guess it could just be poison. This could be easily accomplished with an ice knife. Even hearing that word is a danger to my precious IQ. How does that overused obscenity explain anything about this? It's an ice knife. You stab the neck, the knife melts, nothing left. So, next.
No, hold on a second there, Miss Chase. The way you described it, someone else would have to be present to apply this knife. Didn't you say this was an accident? How did the culprit leave?
To add to that, are you seriously suggesting the government's weaponry included ice knives? Even these simpletons in the military can invent something more effective and easily stored. What do you mean? This is clearly the deadliest weapon known to man.
I think I've heard enough.
Yeah. No. I'm not sure what a carbon nanotube would do, how it would be used, but this sounds the most like it would be a secret weapon. Carbon nanotubes could do the job.
I have no idea what you just said.
Just imagine a very thin string. So thin it cannot be seen with your bare eyes. String. You have to be chest thin. That's your military grade government weapon? String! Hey, if pulled across a neck, I'm sure it could cut into it.
Something that thin doesn't really sound like it caused the kind of wound described. You should have given the impression of a sliced neck and a completely destroyed throat.
Oh, right.
And this requires some elaborate setup at the house to work. How can this be an accident?
Strings are versatile?
Alright, you strung us along for long enough.
I guess it is acid though. Some kind of strong acidic substance must have been involved.
You mean those chemicals they always warn you about?
Indeed. If strong enough acid got on someone's skin, it'll burn right through. It'd definitely look like someone ripped your throat out if it got on your neck. The detective noted that the room didn't end up too messy. Plus, the rest of the throat was nowhere to be seen. Which makes sense if it's all. I was just going by the wording of the report saying it was a torn throat. How in the world do you suppose it got there by accident? Quite simple. It was stored in some items this victim took from the tower. A chest that was taken by the police, to be precise. So it's, corpses sold poor. Chest on... First facility mentions chest on table near victim. Where is it? Evidence room. Chest had the key cloak of food cook. It was rigged to spray out the acid when opened.
Who keeps an weapon around?
Do I need to remind you who this person was? It could easily have been a device that was meant to be used in one of his hitmen projects. Sorry about that, that glitches out sometimes. It's also possible he kept traps like that around as bait, or because he thought it'd be fun.
I see. This is my mind just how twisted of a human he was. But after what I've heard about him, I certainly couldn't put this past the man.
That's the explanation for this death then. This also happened in the same year as my article was published. Chances are, this is what got the FBI involved in the first place. By the time they mobilized, it was too late. Somebody had already died to the stolen weapons. The next best move was to cover it all up and make sure it wouldn't keep happening. Unfortunately, another incident occurred only a year later. The second death. Someone burned to death in his own house at night. All entrances locked. This will make your entire hypothesis fall apart. The neighbors spotted the killer, a hooded figure with a scythe. Before you insist on that now, didn't you yourself dismiss Mr. Foley's sighting as just him being mistaken? It's highly likely that the same happened here. Unless now Reapers constantly vanish from locked buildings. They didn't even see the person themselves, just a silhouette. And you think you can enlighten us as to what they really observed? No scythe was found in the building, nor anything resembling this Reaper. Is that so surprising? The place was on fire. It's possible whatever it was got destroyed.
I don't know, Miss Chase. Who would have conveniently looked at the Reaper?
I can think of something. A Reaper-shaped statuette. That's probably the answer because got some interesting pieces of debris at the scene. And when you say debris, it typically brings to mind, you know, not like a piece of a costume. And shadow puppetry is kind of silly. So the thing about shadows is that they can look bigger than the object that casts them. What appeared to be a human-sized Reaper was actually just a small statuette. How do you propose the fire was started? You won't trip me up on that. It's simple. The fire was started by a bomb, a lens, a match, a cigarette. I want to read through minerals again. Organ damage from major burns. Weird. In fire attacks, you usually die from inhaling smoke. Description: the victim was found in his burnt home. The house sustains substantial damage from a fire. All entrants determined to be warlock. No signs of forced entry. It was a total mess. Strange if there was no struggle. So that points to a bomb. Fire likely went out of control. So we're not going to address it this away and what the weak shadow. So, should we say bomb? A bomb. A convenient statuette of a Reaper and a bomb? Why wasn't any of this found? The bomb wasn't found because it exploded. And the statuette wasn't found because it exploded.
There's a lot of things exploding.
I meant to imply to the same thing, Your Honor. An explosion would explain the disarray in the room, which wasn't consistent with a simple fire. And there was some unexplained fragments of debris left. The statuette must have been filled with something highly flammable, like white phosphorus. We're assuming that both of them fell victim to something they took from the lighthouse. I've heard a rumour that a certain statuette of Thanatos was in this tower. Perhaps this poor victim found and took what he believed to be it. absolute Philistine. How can you be so ignorant about Greek mythology? The Greek god of death predates any depiction of a grim reaper. I never claimed otherwise. Thing is, the victim likely didn't know that and took it anyway. Which is probably exactly what his creator hoped for.
Creator? You say a statue was meant to trick someone?
I'm certain of it. That's just the kind of thing that man would do. He enjoyed setting up tests and experiments, deceiving people into ruining themselves. Fake statuettes of rumour to see who would take the bait. We can't could pass a man like that.
Unbelievable. Could we even call something like that an accident?
It might have been a charitable way to put it, because the true reaper behind these instances is already presumed dead. However, regardless of whether he's dead or alive, he left a curse behind in this lighthouse. But it wasn't anything supernatural, like a ghost with a sight. The things left behind were deadly weapons, hidden in ways that might claim the lives of anyone too greedy or curious.
Can I get a refund?
That lady was scamming us with these things. No, resume the auction. I want all the murder weapons.
Order! This is still only a hypothesis.
Look at what you've done. I should sue you again for slander. That'll be hard to sell anything else. I wouldn't worry. There are always a few crazies out there who'll still take it. It may just be a theory, but I think there's a very obvious step to verify this. Check the auction items again to see if any of them show signs of being booby-trapped. God, seriously, you'd be suggesting we have to go through them all again? It would be very unlikely those two victims took the only deadly things in this building. If my theory is right, chances are good we'll find something. And if we do, that's still strong evidence in favour of my claims. You've got to object to this waste of time. I object to this waste of time. Because it's colossally likely to be one. Not because she told me to do it.
Objection overruled. We might as well make sure now.
So I need to work my way through all the auction items a second time. How inefficient. You should have told me to do a full analysis the first time around. And what exactly do you want me to search for? Your query is remarkably vague. Well, dangerous weapons can be hidden in many ways. Just check for anything unusual. Very helpful. I can't promise anything with such objective parameters. She just has to find something, anything. If I can find solid evidence for this part, a huge turnabout might just be within reach. Turnabout in the Lighthouse of Lunacy. We're still waiting on that turnabout.
That was a longer wait than I expected, but it seems the results are in. What's the verdict, Dr. Hellinger?
I'll get directly to the point. There's only one object that showed any abnormality. The statue of the thinker appears to actually have some mechanism inside it.
Wait a moment, I think I recognize this. It's a clock, right?
There's an internal clock and a speaker involved. Still, I'm able to ascertain that, as the batteries have been removed. A clock. This is the ultimate reward for your misguided efforts? As I predicted, a colossal waste of my precious time. We waited more than an hour for this. My report is incomplete yet. It's notable that one of the wires inside this device has been damaged.
I don't see how that could have happened.
Correct. It should have been very well protected, so I posit the damage was deliberate. I closely examined the area around this wire and found something highly irregular, and that's the primary reason for the length of this investigation. It was quite difficult to determine what it was. Yes, now we're getting somewhere. Well, don't keep us waiting. What is it you found? If I was superstitious, I might have presumed you have the devil's luck. It's a microscopic amount, but I found traces of hexanitrohexazisowertizetane. If I say that 5 times fast, or even 1 time slow. What's that in English? Also known as CL-20. It's a powerful explosive developed by the military.
I knew it! We're all going to explode.
stop jumping to unsupported conclusions? This amount is too insignificant to pose any actual danger. It's not even visible to the eye. Interesting. I think the mere presence of an explosive like that proves my point, though. The damaged wire was likely cut and connected to a fair amount of the CL-20 stuff. This thinker was rigged to explode if someone used this mechanism.
But we were just told there wasn't actually much of the CL-20 here.
Someone clearly removed it at some point, along with the batteries. Mrs. Holden must have gained knowledge at some point that this place contained deadly traps. We can't ask her now, but it's likely some kind of sweep already took place at some point. We can't know if the FBI was included in that. If they were, they clearly didn't think they got everything. It's probably all this will be good for. Well, we solved those cases pretty quickly.
I see, that makes some amount of sense.
Let me note that this increases the odds the plaintiff caught wind of this as well. If she was present for whatever search her mother performed, the odds are decent she managed to find something, given her cleaning prowess.
I understand what you're trying to get at, Miss Chase. It does appear the plaintiff obtaining a special substance isn't too improbable now. And you cleared up this whole curse business along the way. Remarkable.
What the hell? This is rigged. This is you taking on the wrong apple. Again. But you still have no proof for this stupid poison you say I used. It's completely made up is what it is. Consider how little I've been allowed to investigate. I think I've given an extraordinary amount of supporting circumstantial evidence. We've got means, motive, and opportunity.
Miss Chase has managed to give a reasonable response to any objections made by the plaintiff.
This woman shot my mother. Does any of this even matter? It doesn't. Even if there was a poison, the eyewitness said the mother was still standing when she got shot. Clearly this is still on her, no? As I said, can't sue me for damages if she was going to die anyway.
You're both incorrect. Miss Chase, the law does not make an exception for killing someone who is going to die anyway.
Got that right.
Does not mean that this line of inquiry doesn't matter at all, Miss Holden. If the victim was indeed poisoned, there's attempted murder at the bare minimum.
The plaintiff attempted to murder the victim is immaterial to this trial. Well, it would mean you weren't able to claim damages, because if you were planning to kill her anyway. The only thing that matters is whether Aurelia was the one who caused the victim's wrongful death. Feel free to waste your time on the criminal trial on that matter later.
You're unfortunately wrong as well, Miss Preston. Depending on how this poison affected the victim, it could have been a substantial factor in her death. It may have clouded her judgment, or we could do it other ways. In that case, poisoner would share liability for this death.
I advise you to use your brain and remember who's on trial at the moment. Aurelia's guilt is neither overturned nor diminished by this, regardless.
That may be so. However, this has not changed the question if Miss Holden's guilt is of significance to this trial. There is a statuette called the Slayer Rule. There's a statute.
I got used to saying statuette.
There's a statute called the Slayer Rule in inheritance law. This rule exists to prevent any criminals to profit from their crime. A person cannot inherit from someone they killed. And certainly, they cannot file a lawsuit on behalf of the deceased. If Miss Holden indeed contributed to the victim's death, then this whole trial may be illegitimate.
Slayer Rule, huh? I like the sound of that. Finally, it's the break I needed. If I can make this stick, the entire lawsuit will be invalid. I can worry about any criminal charges against me later. I'm not allowed to sue? So that's your next dirty tactic. Can't say I knew it worked like that, but I'll take it. She can't prove anything, though. Innocent until proven guilty, right? There's no way this poison can be established beyond reasonable doubt. It's a civil trial, Miss Holden. Now, correct me if I'm off here, but inheritance disputes are handled in civil courts as well. Does the Slayer Rule require proving things beyond reasonable doubt, Your Honor?
Your guess is correct. Just like in this trial, all that is needed is a preponderance of the evidence.
So, we got her with her own rules. Hoist by her own petard. fair and reasonable. I can get behind that. So, we just established there were dangerous substances circulating in this lighthouse of lunacy. We got the victim showing inexplicable symptoms, the sweat on her face, and on a side note, the way the victim got my attention was by coughing. Which could have been intentional, but could have also been the symptoms of a poison manifesting. Ah. Yeah, so that's how her plan failed. She coughed because of the poison. Finally, we got the fact that the victim got a cut briefly before the crime. There's pretty much no chance poison got in any other way. Her stomach was empty. And the only other person with access to the floor which she got cut was the plaintiff. So, let me ask you, Miss Holden. How's that for preponderance of evidence? Now what I'm thinking is, I said before, oh, what if the bullets was, you know, it's a 91% match, what if it was from the other gun, but, you know, our friend Susan Holden could have swapped those bullets, you know? Because if she shot from below, then she quickly makes her way to the scene, and she's like, "Oh no, mother!" and pulls the bullet out of the body quickly and subs the other one back in. Right? And that does sound kind of input when I realise it's in the heart, but you know, maybe. Can't fold, not here. I'm used to losing. I don't mind it. But this trial is something I absolutely have to turn into a win. I won't back down. We got her guilt established. She's guilty. Sentence her.
I can't do that just yet. This Chase may be guilty, but as I explained, there are some things that still need to be looked into.
Completely blind? How can't you see her blood? This can't be enough evidence without the actual poison. Forget it. This trial has been a farce for a while now. I never formally accused you. I just pointed out the facts. There are certainly questions here that may have bearing on the validity of this trial. Like the second murder, which you keep dismissing as irrelevant. Could it have been related to what happened to the victim in that room earlier? We also want to call Mr. Covey to the stand. If this poison exists, we'll be able to confirm some things about it. Invalid trial? This has to be a joke! Do something, Miss Kristen. What am I paying you for? Seriously? You have the audacity to address me with this? Do you want me to enlighten you what caused the situation? It was your mind-boggling decision to testify. You weren't even capable to simply do as you were told. It's clear why your mother considered you a disappointment. Damn. No, please. I'm not incompetent. This is my last chance to show her I can do something right. It would honestly be a good lesson to abandon you here. You are quite fortunate and I won't take that course of action. Aurelia needs me more. No, really. Don't stick around just for me. I take it you're going to oppose my perfectly reasonable requests, then? Naturally. The whole basis for this derailment is your asinine poison hypothesis. I'm going to obliterate that excuse of the theory immediately. It's obnoxiously impossible to falsify, but trivial enough to point out how absurd it is. Consider this. How would Miss Holden ensure flawless timing? The poison conveniently started taking effect right as the victim was inside the study with you. What would guarantee that? This whole plan would have been ruined if she collapsed earlier or later. Well, if she roughly knew how long the poison needed to start working. You think poisons will always take the exact same amount of time to take effect? Even if that were true, there was no guarantee the victim would be scheduled exactly to the minute. What if she moved things along too quickly or too slowly? She had to be in the study at a precise time due to the TV trip. That's still a large window. TV shows don't merely run for a minute. More importantly, the knife could have been fetched at any time prior to this. What if she got it at the start of the auction instead?
But those are still not even the largest, most blatant issues with this theory. What guarantee was there that Mrs. Holden would cut her finger in the first place? And the edges of the case could have been sharpened. Don't embarrass yourself. There are ways to lift a case without even touching the edges. Maybe the victim had attempted to lift up things in a specific way. And about this timing issues, well, the plaintiff is a bit of a gambler, right? Pathetic, as expected. I'll give you a much more plausible explanation you won't be able to disprove. Family, correct? You claim two people fell victim to traps he left behind in this place. Precisely nothing is stopping this case from being the exact same situation. Since this poison is conveniently unknown, you cannot rule out that it would retain its toxic properties for years. With this explanation, the issues with time and the effect, and making sure she would cut herself, vanish. There was nothing to ensure. It was an accident, not a plan. You only say my client could have planted the poison, but that the League could have planted it when he lived in this place. Now you're precisely nothing to still hold against her. Ugh. That does make sense. Perhaps actually noticed the issues.
Ooh, it certainly sounds like it would make more sense. Perhaps Miss Kristen's proposed scenario is more likely after all.
Okay, but what if we consider the second murder in this context? Surely it would make much more sense if Mr. Garb was killed because he discovered some crucial evidence. Compared to me killing him as a distraction, that sounds much more plausible to me. Surely there's still enough doubt here to look into that.
Indeed, the second incident cannot be dismissed so easily.
You must be out of your mind, Judge. Don't entertain her antics. That was all Lillian's doing. Anyone with average IQ can put it together.
We're literally talking to a judge who, oversees trials, which is innocent until proven guilty.
It would not be surprising if she planted the blood in the victim's display case as well. Also, would waste that time when it once already came forward with this poison lunacy.
Let me be honest, Miss Preston. Your explanation for this second murder is extremely lacking. You want the court to accept that this Chase is some kind of ruthless mastermind twisting the facts. Nothing shown by you so far indicates that the defendant acted in such a way. In fact, everything points to her fully cooperating after firing the shot. She surrendered her gun immediately. And there were no signs that she tried to tamper with any evidence. Your theory relies on the defendant acting on some kind of plan. However, it's doubtful she even intended to kill the victim. To me, she looks like no more than a lucky thief who got pressured into using her gun. She does not strike me as someone so desperate that she'd arrange a second murder. There was a second murder in the lunatic Lighthouse.
Well, glad my perfect cooperation hasn't gone unappreciated. Face it, Victoria. You can't even prove I had any criminal intent here. How is shooting the victim not criminal intent, you joker? Well, technically you still didn't fully prove I shot at all. At least if we consider the TV show could have played a shot. Even if the witness only saw a flash. I can't believe you're still this oblivious. She's done nothing but stall this court with nonsense.
Arguing your case in court is not comparable to actively obstructing justice.
What about the key? She's clearly hidden the key to the study to make it look like it couldn't have been her.
You are talking about the key you haven't found yet? Certainly it must have vanished from the scene somehow. But clearly it couldn't have been the defendant who hid it. She was searched. Your client, on the other hand, already admitted to tampering with evidence at the scene. If anyone removed a key that should have been with the victim, she's a much more likely candidate.
Damn, the judge is absolutely based. For once. Yeah, and who knows what other evidence may have been tampered with. This isn't real. Your arguments are starting to backfire. Isn't it lovely?
The court will require testimony from Mr. Cover and the Hellinger. Please come to the stand.
No, I refuse to let you have this. If I can show that she hit the key, that would demonstrate her criminal intent, would it not? How stubborn can you be? Let's just stop ignoring the second murder already.
You say you found the key, Miss Preston? You sure it didn't sound like it? Well, if you can prove it was this Chase who hid it, that certainly would put things in a new light. At the very least, it would show the defendant is not above tampering with evidence. I was clearly trying to deflect guilt.
I didn't find the key yet. But deducing it should be trivial for me. Well, this should be good, at least. Aurelia definitely hid the key, but it wasn't on her person or in the room. Therefore, there's only one place where she could have hidden it. What if? Yes. There's still an appropriately asinine hiding place for the likes of you. We're still waiting. Well, it's... Do we really have to suggest this? What, is she going to suggest that Lily and Paul's time came and took the key from her?
Juvenile guilt or not, Miss Preston?
Did I say Mr. Preston? She ate it. Oh, damn. It's the only logical conclusion. The key must be small like the other one, so she'd be able to eat it. You cannot disprove it. But behold, the only possible explanation for the locked room, and a clear sign of your guilt. Weren't you the one invoking Hitchens, Fraser?
I mean, it can't be disproven, but...
Sweet desperation, excellent. Actually, I think we have an easy way to disprove this nonsense, Your Honor. That metal detector. This tool should be able to prove that I didn't eat any keys. Oh, the hunt device of a metal detector. Oh, wait, no, this one scans the inside of the body, doesn't it? Yeah. Just make a save just in case. I don't want to go back to the previous testimony. I heard about Dr. Helen Jesus with an X-ray on my friend. Alright, decent investigation kit will probably feature a metal detector as well. Let her do the honours, come up with nothing, and we can move on from this.
This is making me feel nostalgic. I remember the last person wasn't quite that eager to be checked. Very well, Dr. Hellinger, please put Miss Preston's theory to the test.
Well, let them know how correct I am. We will find out the results of this test next time. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully next time we'll be able to get... Well, we've got Helen to understand now. But we want Hellinger and Cover to testify. And we should be able to push forward even further. Hopefully, we can get discussion about the second murder going. We put to rest 2 accidents already, and now we just need to solve 2 murders. So yeah. Thanks for watching, guys.